Yep. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the LowKick MMA weekly roundup. I'm your host, Ryan Galloway, and joining me is Jordan Ellis. Jordan, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Yeah, not bad at all. We had a very interesting card this past weekend, and I think we'll jump in the main event. But before we get into that, what did you think overall of the entire card? Because I thought up until the main event and what happened there, it was gone pretty well. I thought it was a pretty decent card.
Yeah, it was one of them cards. The other week on the game card, there was like not enough action that they didn't even give bonuses. This one, it was like there was so many people who was going to miss out on the bonuses because there was some good fights, there was some big knockouts, and some controversial moments as well, which we'll get into now. But really good card, really fun card. A bit disappointing in the end, but damn things happen, and they're going to continue to happen until they address the issue. So, yeah, let's get into them. Let's
Yeah.
get it.
We'll jump straight in at the top there, and we had Leon Edwards make his return. Not the result anyone would have guessed would happen in this fight, but before we get into the controversy, Leon Edwards looked great. Even after the long layoff, he looked fantastic. It looked like he was close to getting Belal Muhammad out of there within the first 2 minutes, 30 seconds of the round. He had him stumbling with the head kick, but Muhammad was tough. He hung tough. He managed to survive the round. And yeah, what did you think of Edwards' performance and how he looked for the little time we saw him?
Yeah, I'm happy to move on from this fight. I know the result was inconclusive, but for me, it was a bit of a mismatch to start with, and then in the cage, it looked that as well. I felt like Edwards was just having his way with Muhammad and doing whatever he wanted, and just kind of even potentially stretching the fight out because he was trying to get that a bit of time in. I think if he really pushed forward, he would have got the finish. And it is just Leon is an elite level fighter. He's one of the best welterweights in the world, and Muhammad is just below that. So for me, a rematch is not necessary. I wouldn't say Leon goes straight to a title shot, but straight into a fight with Wonderboy or Colby or someone along them lines. I'd be happy for that. But Leon looked great. A long layoff, nearly 2 years, and he looked sharp. And it was a nice fight for him. And unfortunately, it just ended in a bit of a shit way.
Yeah, and that was that eye poke that happened in the second round there. He was trying to hide the head kick behind a cross, I believe. And yeah, extended his fingers straight into Muhammad's eye. Do you think there is a way that they can avoid these? Do you think the new gloves are going to solve this problem? Or do you think it's just inevitable that this will happen?
No, I think the gloves. It's been something we've spoke about for a while, and obviously when it doesn't happen for a while, it all dies down. But then something like this, it's going to continue to happen. So I think new gloves are okay. Like even MMA sparring gloves, they curve round at the front. I still feel like it wouldn't. The downside is that they say it would impact grapplers, but I don't really think it would. You can still lock the hands together. You can still do everything. It's just if your fingers are poking out, he's going to use that for distance, and Leon was using it all fight, and you just take the option away from them. I really do think, and I'd like to see with this Venom deal coming in, you'd hope that Venom have knew for probably a year that they're going to get this contract. Have they been working on gloves? Have the UFC told them to work on gloves? Because it seems like a step we're eventually going to have to make. It's just about the UFC biting the bullet and actually doing it.
Well, I mean, Reebok never made the gloves. The gloves are always UFC branded. So that would be interesting if Venom have done this. I don't see that happening. I think Dana White said they were going to look into it now, finally, which they should have been doing months or years ago. And I think the most likely solution or what direction they'll go in is those Onyx, ONX, the ones... who's his? Trevor Whitman's brand. Because when he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, he said he spoke to the UFC about licensing out his technology already, but they wanted to own it and he didn't want to sell it. So I think they'll probably get back into conversation to see if they can do a licensing deal, because the way his gloves work, they're the same ones. They're curved over a little bit, so when you put your fingers out, they're not straight out. They're you know what I mean? So I think this is going to happen. It happened with John Jones throughout his whole career. He's always poking me with the eyes. All these long-rangey strikers who put their fingers out for distance, like you said, they always have trouble with the eye pokes. So a change needs to be made, and I really do hope they go in the direction of Trevor Whitman's technology.
Yeah, and you've seen it with Stipe and DC. They couldn't avoid each other with the eye pokes. It was, some people are just like that. And when the fight ending sequence was Leon, he was stretching out as he threw his kick, which you see a lot of people do. So, I just think it's unavoidable. The UFC need to bite the bullet, but yeah, I think they are, as you said, UFC make the gloves, and I don't think they'd want whatever Trevor Whitman's brand is on the gloves. They just want UFC gloves. So, it's up to them to do it. I feel like there's options out there, and this should have been sorted years ago, really. Like, the fact that we're still speaking about this in 2021 is a bit ridiculous. And hopefully 2021's the last year where we speak about this type of stuff, because it's very fixable, and hopefully they just fix it.
Hopefully. And before we move on from this fight, I know you spoke about it just before. You'd like to see Leon fight a Colby or a Wonderboy. I think you throw him straight in a title shot, and here's why. I just don't think there is a number one contender at the moment. Masvidal is getting the title shot as it stands, which in my opinion is a silly fight because we've already seen what happens. He hasn't come back and fought someone else. Colby makes more sense in my opinion. But Leon has been willing to fight anyone that's been put in front of him. He was initially offered the title shot before Gilbert Burns, before Masvidal. Actually, after Masvidal, but after Masvidal turned it down. So I feel like you could throw him in a title shot now and no one's going to argue with you, you know? So I think that's the route they should go in.
Yeah, if that's the next fight they make for Usman as well, then I'm all behind that. But I'm not behind Leon sitting on the sidelines any longer. So, they want to do tough. This is the talk. They want to do tough, and then they want to do a title fight in September. So Leon's not going to get his shot until January, February. Like, he needs to fight, and he got a bit of time in the cage there. But I prefer to see him, in there picking up big wins. And Wonderboy and Colby are still big fights. It'd be hype. I think it would get Leon in there as well. So it all depends on how negotiations go for that Usman Masvidal fight. There seems to be a delay. I'm still not convinced it's 100% happening. And the UFC at any moment, I feel, could just pull out and say, Leon, you're in. You've got the call. You're fighting Usman in on this particular date. So it is all up in the air, and the whole of welterweight's up in the air because everyone's refusing to fight everyone. Everyone wants to sit out and wait for a title shot. So I'm hoping we can get some progression in the coming months. See how it all plays out.
For sure. We'll jump on to the co-main event then, and we had a bit of an upset in my opinion in this one. I know you made the right pick here, but Ryan Spann gets the knockout against Miesha Circanov. What do you think?
Yeah, it was always going to end in the first round. I was some of my mates have been staying up just because they're bored. They've been staying up watching UFC with me, and we've been doing our own little fight companion type thing. And I was saying, this one's going to be over. We'll be to bed soon. This one's going to be over in less than a round, because they're both known for it. And for me, it was a toss up. But then in the end, Spann was just a bit more accurate, a bit more clinical, a bit more lethal with them punches, and it was a really good win for him considering he was coming off a tough one last time. It's back in the win column. Really good win. Spann looked great, and he'll move on now. Probably top 10 come tomorrow. So very impressive.
Yeah, and light heavyweight's one of those divisions where you just need to put together a couple of wins and you're like towards the top, I think before he fought Walker, he was on like a 5-fight win streak or something. He was on quite a big win streak. So you could even I wouldn't be unhappy if they rematched Walker and him, because that was a close fight for as long as it lasted. I don't know if you remember that one, but both of them were out on their feet the entire time, and then eventually Walker landed the last shot. So I think Walker may be booked, but if he's not, I wouldn't be unhappy with the rematch,
Yeah, I think Walker's he was booked to face Jimmy Crute, but he's got an arm injury, so he's out for a little while. I wouldn't mind that rematch, especially Spann. I was on the media call the other day, and he's kind of got an issue with the stoppage. He thinks he was hit behind the head and things like that. He weren't very happy. So I think that'll be one he'd love to get back. Will he get the chance in the near future? I'm not sure, but whoever he fights next, I think he called out the winner of Anthony Smith against Jimmy Crute, which would be a cool fight as well. So plenty going on, plenty of people for him to fight. And look forward to it, because he did really look good. It was a potential banana skin, that one, and he come through it with flying colours.
Any last thoughts before we move on for that one?
No, let's go.
Cool. Before that, we had a really quick fight. Dan Ige knocks out Gavin Tucker in 22 seconds. I know the broadcast like to exaggerate a little bit and say it was 3 seconds. I don't know what they were watching, but it definitely was 22. But yeah, impressive performance.
Yeah, I think they're talking about when the actual fight started, when the two fighters decided, we're going to engage now. Boom, it was over. And it was brilliant performance, because another potential banana skin was Gavin Tucker. He's been looking great. He looked great last time against Billy Quarantillo. He put a win streak together. And Danny Ige is not necessarily known for being a power puncher. So it's like 3 hard rounds against Gavin Tucker, who's a bit of a grinder. It was a risk, considering Tucker's not even ranked, and he'd just been fighting, and Danny Ige just been fighting guitar. So for me, it was a risky fight, but he just clearly had confidence in himself. Gavin Tucker lunged in, and he just got put out, and it was clean, and he walked off, and it was such a brilliant way to re-establish yourself as a featherweight contender. Brilliant performance, 50k bonus, of course, and he goes on now, another big fight for Dan.
Yeah, and he had that slip up against Qatar, but he's calling out Korean Zombie, I like that fight. I don't know if that makes sense ranking wise, but I really do like that fight, and I hope they give it to him. But yeah, he had that one loss to Calvin Kattar, but aside from that, he's been pretty much perfect, hasn't he?
Yeah, and he's top 10 down, and he's going to fight. They've been trying to book, book all kinds of people. Yeah, you Rodriguez against the they've been trying to them two fighters for what seems like years now. You've booked Danny, he's gonna turn up. So I'm happy to see him in with any of these guys, the Korean Zombies, the Zabits, all these guys. I want to see him fight. I think he deserves to be in that mix, and he did what he should have done to Gavin Tucker. Gavin Tucker's not ranked, and he just wiped them out. There was no issue there, and that shows that he's an elite level fighter. And want to see him mixing it with them guys now.
For sure. Before that, we had Bantamweights, Jonathan Martinez against Davey Grant. Davey Grant again proves the upsetter, knocks out Jonathan Martinez in the second round. Not an outcome I saw coming, that's for sure.
I love Davey Grant. He's probably one of my favourite fighters on the roster. When you hear him speak, he just beams positivity. Like, he puts a smile on your face. I root for him because obviously he's the underdog going into all these fights, and he just pulls it off. It's just pure grit, pure want to win. And I think in the end, Martinez just couldn't keep up with the pure desire that Davey was putting out, and was just ended up getting absolutely chinned. So yeah, I'm a big Davey fan. I was screaming at home like when he got that knockout. It was a brilliant one. Can't wait to see his next one. He's got some momentum going now. 2 wins, quick turnaround. For me, I would love to see him, get that Sean O'Malley fight after Sean comes through Thomas Almeida, because I know people would say Sean O'Malley's above that level, but he really isn't. Jonathan Martinez has just beat Thomas Almeida. Davey Grant's just beat Jonathan Martinez. It seems like a great fight for me if Sean can come through that one. I doubt they'll make it, but it'd be cool to watch.
Yeah, I was talking to someone before this fight. I said I picked Martinez at the start. So I said it's going to be interesting when if Martinez beats Grant here and they don't give him a ranking, and then Sean O'Malley goes and beats Thomas Almeida and they give him the number 15, which I saw coming. But that is a good fight, that Grant versus O'Malley fight. That makes sense if O'Malley does win. I don't see them booking that. But as far as how Grant performed, I was really impressed. He got knocked down in that first round. I thought the fight was going to end shortly after, but the man can just throw hammers, and he doesn't even look like he can throw hammers, but he throws hammers, and when he lands, that's it. He's having a bit of a resurgence later in his career, so hey, good for him,
And that's a very good win. Jonathan Martinez was flying, he got a few wins on the bounce, only 26. He looked like the future of the division, but Davey just takes it all away, and it was super impressive. Can't wait to watch him again. Can't say enough good things about Davey. I'm glad he got another 50k bonus. Totally deserved, and I hope he gets a nice big fight next, because he deserves it.
Yeah, I agree. Before that, we had flyweight Manel Cape. He's took on Matheus Nicolau. It was a grappler versus striker fight, this one. I thought, watching the fight, that Nicolau won the fight. I thought he did enough, especially in that first round. Obviously, he smashed him in the first round. The third round, it was pretty close, but I gave it to Nicolau. But I saw a lot of kickback online. People thought that Cape won this fight. Did you see it that way? How did you see it?
It's hard with these fights because it was so close. There was nothing really for me. I'm not gonna scream robbery. I thought Cape won, but I weren't really convinced either way. I was just like, that was me picking the final round. It was 1-1 clearly going into round 3. And then it's whatever you like in that round. I don't think it's not like he put a beating on his opponents for 5 minutes or anything like that, where it's been a robbery. It's one of them. I'm disappointed in Cape, really, because he come in with a lot of hype and he just hasn't delivered yet. He hasn't looked like a puncher. He hasn't. I want to see him. I thought he'd get through this one, and he just didn't. So I don't see any issue really with the loss. I know a lot of the media guys, they all picked Cape as the winner, but it really is flip of the coin. It was a very even fight, 51-49% either way. So no complaints on my end.
So do you think this loss kind of stifles Cape's hype that he had coming in? Do you think it's all gone now, or do you think that people will still be really interested in seeing what he provides? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested. Obviously, he does have the hype, and Pantoja, as I said last time, is a tough fight to come into, but he's coming in against, I know, a guy who has been at the UFC level before, but he's coming in on late notice, and it felt like it was kind of settled for him to go and take that win, but he just didn't, and it's unfortunate, and it is unfortunate, but he'll be back. It's just, he's took a loss and he's tried to bounce back from it really quickly, where he probably needs to go away, work on his game, have a full camp, come back, get a win that way. And I'm sure he'll be back in the win column. I'm sure, later on this year, we'll probably be speaking about him as a potential contender again, but right now he's just in a tough spot.
Yeah, I hope so. Opening the main card, we had middleweights Eric Anders taking on Darren Stewart. A fight that I said was going to be fighter than I thought this one was going to be a war. It was like a little bit there, but Darren Stewart got beaten up like really early, and it looked to be almost over. And then, actually, if I remember correctly, at the start of this fight, wasn't Stewart like beating Anders up on the fence and then it turned? I don't remember. Anyway, it ended up with an illegal knee. What happened in this one from your eyes?
Yeah, it was Eric Anders looked, sensational. I was picking Stewart. I think Stewart's looked great lately, but on the media day the other day, Eric Anders was kind of all fired up. He was ready for a 3-round war. Darren Stewart was a bit, he was in a bit of a funk, and he was, disappointed with how the Holland decision went against him, and he was just really down. So it was just obvious on fight night, it kind of come across that way, where Eric Anders was ready to go. Darren Stewart probably weren't at the races, but he's so gritty, he's so tough. He was still throwing, he was still in the fight. For me, the knee, it was an illegal knee. It was clearly illegal. And if we're comparing it to last week's one, I'd say it was more obvious that Darren Stewart was on the floor, but it's been called a no contest. So that's the problem I've got with it. I don't know what the rules are. I don't know how the referees are enforcing these rules, and why is this one a no contest? Why was last week's one a disqualification? I don't know.
Well, I think the big difference between the two, in my eyes anyway, is that Darren Stewart, when he threw... Eric Anders, when he threw the knee, he wasn't told by the referee or his corner that he couldn't throw it, right? But in the title fight last weekend, Peter Yan was told by the ref that he couldn't throw it. He said he's a grounded opponent, and his corner said don't throw the knee, and he threw the knee. It's a weird one, isn't it? Because they're two completely different verdicts, and we're just splitting hairs on what happened. I like that it was a no contest, but at the same time, only because it was going to be over very shortly after. Eric Anders was going to win that fight, let's be honest. So it's better to be a no contest than him to get a loss on his record for a DQ, in my eyes.
Yeah, and the issue I've got is really, I thought Darren Stewart was very clearly on the floor. There was not a reason for the referee to be like, oh, you can't knee him here. And, even if he did say that to Peter Yan, does Peter Yan understand that? I've only ever heard him speaking in Russian. Even in interviews, is the referee speaking Russian to him? I'm not sure. We can argue about that one all day. But for me, the no contest is the right call. I just wish it was last week as well. And there's a bit of consistency between the referees, and there just doesn't seem to be. And but the right call. Let's judging this fight. Right call. No contest. I hope they do it again, because it looked like a fun fight. It was probably one of my picks for fight of the night, and I hope they run it back soon.
Yeah, I'd like to see that too, because it was quite interesting for how long it lasted. The featured prelim we had. Angela Hill rematch Ashley Yoder and just passed the test with dominant fashion. She dominated her in this fight. Wasn't really too close. But yeah, what do you think of Angela Hill's performance?
Yeah, it's what you needed. She'd been in these really impressive performances, but you weren't getting the wins. She took a step down in level, and that's what she should have done to Ashley Yoder. I think that dominant win. It would be nice if she finished it, but we can't always get what we want. And Angela Hill goes back onto another big fight now. I think they can throw her in with a lot of different people in that division are looking for fights. Maybe someone like Amanda Ribas I think Amanda Ribas is looking for a fight. That would be cool. There's a lot going on, and I think Angela Hill is right in the mix. She's a name, she's popular, and she fights well as well. So I'm sure it'll be a big one next.
Yeah, you do hope so. She had a couple of jumps up in competition that didn't go away, but she's definitely one of the better girls in the division. So yeah, hope they give her another shot. Before that, we had featherweight Charles Jourdain versus Marcelo Rojo. Charles Jourdain is a machine. That third round after his little pep talk come out and just put the brakes on him and manage to get the stoppage. What do you think of that fight?
Yeah, it was brilliant, and it's these are the guys who are probably unlucky not to get that 50k fight night bonus because all the performances that we seen on the card. So yeah, really impressive from Charles Jourdain. I do like him, and he's seen to be the next big thing, and he's had a loss and a draw since then, and then to get back in the win column with this one, fantastic stuff, brilliant finish in the third round as well against a really tough guy in Rojo. So yeah, great fight. Charles Jourdain, 25. He's one for the future definitely, and he's keeping us entertained while he's on his rise.
Yep, I'll throw it to you if you want to grab any of these remaining prelims, or we'll jump to next week's card.
Yeah, just the first of the night where we had that another quick knockout, 16 seconds. This one even quicker than Danny. So come out, lays him out, and it was just one of them nights. It was really fun. There was lots going on. We had the controversy, we had the really fun fights as we've just spoke about. So really good card, really delivered. Besides that main event, it was the perfect card. It was really fun, and unfortunately for Leon Edwards and Belal Muhammad, I was going to say hopefully we do run it back, but hopefully they don't run it back, and Belal gets another big fight against someone else, and Leon gets another big fight against someone else, and that's what we see. But yeah, fun card.
Make sure to subscribe to the LowKick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA. Yeah, very. We'll jump on to the next card coming up next weekend, which is a UFC Fight Night, Brunson versus Holland. One I've been waiting for a little while since I saw Holland knock out Jacare in such a devastating fashion. Interesting matchup. Really an acid test for Holland in this one. If he can get past Brunson, he can be a champion. That's what they say, right? I mean, you look at Israel did it. Whitaker did it. Romero did it. It's all the best guys at that weight class have all beaten Brunson. So can Holland do it too? I'll throw it to you first. What do you think of this fight?
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. I think it's the right one at the right time for Kevin Holland. He's kind of took these jumps where he shouldn't have took the jumps, but I think this is the right one. He's beat Jacare. Brunson's the next step, and I fancy Holland in this one. I hope he tries to keep it on the feet and strike with Derek Brunson. I think he's a better striker than Derek Brunson, and he can make that work for him. Derek looked brilliant last time out, so it's about keeping that momentum going. And it's a perfect fight. For me, it's a 50-50 fight, and it all depends on who's able to implement their game plan. For me, Derek Brunson can get Kevin Holland on the floor and beat him up on the floor. Kevin Holland should try and keep this on the feet and uses long range strikes.
And that's the thing. I think it is a game plan fight because Kevin Holland, if he can stay at range and pick Brunson apart, he'll definitely find the finish. I mean, Israel did it similar ways. Like he stood at range and managed to pick Brunson apart. And the other thing is, Holland off his back is dangerous. So even if Brunson gets him down, it's not like he's going to be stuck there and like dominated on the floor. He's got a really good jiu-jitsu base. We saw what he did to Jacare, who's one of the best grapplers in the sport. So he's going to be active from his guard. I really don't know. I don't know what the pick is here because my heart's telling me Holland, but my mind's telling me that Brunson's so tested. And we've seen him go up against these upcoming guys like his last fight against Shabazian, where he was meant to lose that one. That was meant to be Shabazian's building fight. But Brunson just proved that he was the veteran in that contest, and he was able to implement his game plan and get it done. So I really don't know who to pick here. Kind of edging towards Brunson, but I'm going to take Holland just because I think he's a very interesting character in the sport. So
I'm edging towards Holland. I think Derek Brunson's last fight was really impressive, but it was against Shabazian, who is very obviously impressive, but he's largely unproven, and he'd never dealt with someone like Brunson. Whereas I think Holland, he's kind of been there, done that. He's mixed it with better guys than Derek Brunson, and he'll be able to survive, get back to his feet, land something significant. I think Darren, especially in a 5-round fight, might struggle. He's been known for putting his foot on the gas in round 1, charging at people. How's he going to deal with 5 rounds? Very interesting. I think Holland might catch him with something coming in, an elbow or something like that, and he's going to get a nice knockout again, I think.
Yeah, and if he does get that knockout, how close do you think that puts him to a title shot? Because you've got, obviously, Till versus Vettori in 3 weeks, I believe, and you got Whitaker versus Costa right before that. One of those 2 fights is going to get the title shot. We know that's going to happen. If Holland gets a nice finish here, you think he's 1 fight away?
Yeah, he could potentially this could be it. If Costa beats Whittaker, Vittori beats Till, and Derek Brunson gets a vicious knockout here, the UFC might just go, yeah, let's do Holland, and that's how close it is. Like, this middleweight division is wide open for the next challenger, and if Izzy says I want to fight in May or June or July, they might just go, Holland, do you want this fight? And we know he's going to say yeah, because he's a gamer and he always says yeah. So yeah, potentially he could get a title shot off the back of this, but he probably does need one more. But huge fight either way.
Yeah, and right before that, we have the co-main event in the lightweight division, the return of Gregor Gillespie after suffering his first career loss back in 2019, I believe, at UFC 244. I could be wrong, but that's my guess. And he's taking on Brad Riddell, who has been perfect so far in the UFC from City Kickboxing. Interesting fight. I expect Gillespie to pick up where he left off before that fight with Kevin Lee and show his world-class wrestling ability in this fight. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm very interested to see. He's had a real long layoff. I'm not sure if he's been injured or just, recovering, because it was a monstrous, KO loss, and it's always smart to take time off after that, and he's done it, and he comes back to a nice fight. It's a tough fight, but it's not Kevin Lee. It's not, the upper echelons. It's one of the lower guys, and yeah, interested to see how he looks. I expect them to be really cautious at the start and then eventually work his way into the fight, get some wrestling in, and probably get the decision.
Well, the thing is, I don't think we've really seen Riddell's wrestling tested. I believe in one of his fights he was held down for one round, but he managed to get the other two. But I don't think, if Gillespie's smart, his game plan is going to be, let me take this guy to the floor, because we've never seen Riddell really technical off his back, throwing up submissions, doing a lot of damage from his back. So if he can get taken down, that's the easiest route to victory. Do you agree?
Yeah, and it's in the name, the City Kickboxing, that's their focus, is the striking. We've seen Izzy off his back. He didn't really seem to have much to do with a week. So you'd be saying, if this is one of their guys, try and take him down. And Gregor, that's what he'll want to do. That's his game. And Brad's got to stop that. Brad's looked great through his UFC run so far. So it's not a gimme fight for Gregor at all. It's a tough fight, and I'm sure they're going to go 3 rounds. I don't see even Guy getting this finish here. So good fight. Not the strongest co-main event, but again, there's some intrigue because I'm looking forward to seeing Gregor Gillespie after so long out.
Yeah, for sure. Before that, we have heavyweights. Tai Tuivasa taking on Don'Tale Mayes. Heavy hitters. Who do you have taking this one?
It's going to be a fun one, I think. I really like Tai. He was kind of briefly cut, wasn't he, a little while back? He got a good win over Stefan Struve. That's a good one. Yeah, I'm gonna go for Tai. I think I do like him. I think he's capable of getting a big KO win in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd take Tuivasa as well, just because he's from Australia. But at the end of the day, I haven't really seen Don'Tale Mayes lose in knockout fashion ever in the UFC from memory. I'm just pulling up his record here. I know he got submitted by Cyril Gane. He's coming off a decision win. Yeah, I don't know if he gets finished in this one, but I am going to take Tuivasa just because he's one of my guys. But, it's going to be an interesting fight. Either guy has the power to knock the other one out. That's the thing with heavyweights. You just never know.
Yeah, you really do never know. And I just fancy Tai going into this one. I am a fan. It's always good to see him back in action. And this is nicely placed on the card as well. If they're trying to keep us up till late again in the UK, I'll be hoping Tai and Don'Tale can deliver a fun fight for us. I think either way we're going to get some action. Yep,
for sure. Before that, we have Bantamweights, Adrian Yanez against Gustavo Lopez. What do you think of this fight?
Really like Adrian Yanez. I think this is a nice fight for him as well. Since coming off the Contender Series, he looked great. I don't know if he's had 1 or 2 fights now. But I expect them to look good in this one. I expect them to get probably another KO, and this is a step up in opposition. I just think Yanez is a really talented fighter, and he's gonna keep shining at this level until they step him up.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at Gustavo Lopez's record here, just because I wasn't too familiar with. I don't remember last time I seen him fight. Last time he did fight was November 2020 on the Santos Teixeira card. Got a submission win. Before that, he took a loss to Merab Dvalishvili. I'm not too sure who to pick in this one. But yeah, Adrian Yanez has looked pretty good from coming off that Contender Series. So it'll be interesting to see him against the competition of this level, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely a step up. And I expect Gustavo to drag the fight out longer, but I think Yanez will still have his way with him as long as it goes on. And he ultimately got the finish. And he's one to watch at that bantamweight division. Really impressive guy.
Absolutely. Before that, we have middleweight Song Keenan. Oh, welterweight, sorry. Welterweights, not middleweights. Song Keenan against Max Griffin. Interesting fight. Didn't know it was going to be on the main card. I'm seeing this for the first time now. This is one of these cards where they're just really like putting prelim level fights from other cards in the main card to fill it out. But that's all right. Max Griffin is coming out coming out with a knockout in his last fight, if I can speak for a second. So it'll be interesting to see him against Keenan, who I was writing something about earlier, and he lost to Adesanya back in the day. So did he fight at middleweight? Has he moved down, mate? I'm so confused right now.
Yeah, I think it was middleweight, that one, but that was way back in the day. So it was at the start of his career. So he's probably leaned up a bit now, and Max Griffin's coming off that, when it with the guy's ear was hanging off. Max Griffin nearly took someone's ear off, didn't he, last time? So interesting fight, really good fight. I'm really not sure who to pick in this one. I think it's a really well-matched fight. I think Keenan's looked great. He's looked good in the UFC. Only lost to Alex Morono and Brad Riddell. Oh no, that was even before the UFC, that Brad Riddell one. So, only that one loss in the UFC. And Max Griffin's gamer. He won't go down easy, but I probably would edge toward Keenan in this one.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I'm not even going to try and make a pick in this next one because I'm not familiar with either fighter. But according to the card I'm looking at here, it's Cheyenne Byers against Montserrat Conejo. Do you know either of these fighters and you have a pick?
Not really. I think Kay Hansen was meant to be in this fight and she just pulled out last week. So then we get a newcomer and I don't know. It's on the main card. There's lots of fights we can speak about on the undercard that are a bit more fun. Even the women's bantamweight fight between Renew and what's her name? Macy Chasian. That's more of a fun fight. We've got Trevin Giles on there against Roman Dolidze. That's a fun one. Montel Jackson's on there. There's lots of fun fights. As we often do say. The UFC do have a weird way of putting the cards together and we get them type of fights on the main card. So I don't have a pick for that one either. I'm sure we'll watch keenly and let's see how it goes.
Yeah, and it's a big spot for them. So if one of them can go out there and do something impressive, hey, props to them. If that's all you've got on this card, we'll jump on some news. Anything else?
Mm-hmm. No, that's it.
Cool. First news I have is Tony Ferguson looks to be coming back at UFC 262 against Beneil Dariush. The UFC keep giving him these prospects, these guys. Like initially it was meant to be Oliveira versus Dariush. Then Oliveira got Ferguson, and now they're giving him Dariush. So do you think this is a great booking? Do you think he passed this test? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a nice fight for Tony. Like it's a step down in opposition. And I think he can win this one. It's a very, even not at his peak. I think Tony might be able to win this one. So, and if he doesn't, he'll be able to, there'll be chances for him to get some offense off. The last few fights, he hasn't even had a chance to get going, So, very, very interesting. It's probably only going to be 3 rounds. I'd imagine that's 3 rounds on a pay-per-view. So there's not a lot of time, but he's got to get his work done. If he can get back in the win column, he's still a contender. He's still a name. He can still get that Conor McGregor fight or, one of these Nate Diaz or someone like that. So big fight for Tony and even bigger one for Beneil, who's not mixed at this level. He's not had these big opportunities and there it is. He's been calling for a big fight. He's deserved a big fight and he's got it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm as confident as you, even though I'm a huge Tony Ferguson fan. I think this is a tough fight. Just because I watched Dariush's last fight against who was Diego Ferreira. And he was just a machine, non-stop. Even on the feet at the start of the fight, he was just non-stop. I do think Tony probably has an advantage in the striking area, so especially in the volume. So if Ferguson can get his game going and have Dariush walk backwards, it's an easy method for him to win the fight. But Dariush's grappling has looked so good. His power in his hands is undeniable. You look at his knockout of Drakkar Klose, I believe it was. He just got bombs in his hand. So this is a dangerous fight in my opinion, but I hope Ferguson pulls through because I really do want to see him back in the mix with the more well-known guys. I wouldn't say tougher guys, but more well-known fighters in that division.
Yeah, it's a good fight, and it's not that he's just gonna come and lay down. I just think for Tony, if it gives him a chance to perform. Belal Dariush is very hittable. He's a very hittable guy. He might be on a win streak and these things, but he's kind of flat-footed. He plods forward, and Tony might be able to cut him up with some elbows and things like that. I think there's a chance for him to win. There's a very clear route to victory. I think he can win this one, even if he's not at his best. I think he can win this one. So, but Dariush, as you say, he's tough. He's game. He's got power, and he's in the mix. He's definitely in the mix. And beating Tony Ferguson puts him over the top. Another win over Tony Ferguson, even on a 2-fight losing streak. He can get that big fight that we've just been talking about. Maybe not the Conor McGregors, but the Dan Hookers, the Michael Chandlers, all these guys who are looking for fights. He can fight them.
Yeah, got some more news here. This one is not MMA related. Dana White says he will put $1 million on Ben Askren to beat Jake Paul in their boxing match. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and if I had 1 million, I'd probably put it on myself, because I really do fancy Ben in this one. I think he's just going to be able to eat the punches. I think he's going to have to take everything Paul gets, and then by the third, fourth round, Paul's going to be tired. So that would be my pick as well. But come to think of it, actually, if I had 1 million, I probably wouldn't be putting on Ben Askren's boxing ability. But I understand what Dana's saying. He fancies this guy, and I'm in that court as well. I know a lot of people aren't, but yeah, I fancy Ben Askren too. But yeah, it's a funny one. And then you've seen Jake Paul come back and Snoop Dogg come back, and they want more money on it. But I'm sure Dana White will be putting money on this fight. I'm sure he will.
Yeah, I don't like that bet. I wouldn't be that confident with $1 million, but I guess Dana White can throw $1 million away. What's that to Dana White? But yeah, no. And Snoop Dogg wants $2 million. It's a crazy situation, isn't it?
It's crazy, and that's what I was saying. I was like, if I've got $1 million, I'd put it on. But then I thought, no, that'd be the only $1 million I have. So maybe it wouldn't. Dana's got a few extra in the bank. He'll be fine, win or lose. So funny. It's nice to see, and it's nice to see Dana coming out and back on Ben Askren, because he's although Dana and Ben have had a weird relationship, he's one of our guys. It's nice to see MMA guys back on MMA guys, and I really do hope he wins. I really do fancy him, and I'll be having a bet myself, but it'll probably be only 10 or 20 quid. It won't be anything silly.
Yeah, probably a smart call. More news. Dan Hardy no longer working for the UFC directly as a commentator. Not sure what's happened there. You might know. I don't know if you've done any reporting on this over the past week. But yeah, weird situation, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems like I think after the Herb Dean thing, he was kind of on thin ice anyway. And then he's had a bit of a bust up with a colleague over something, and I think they've just decided to pull the plug. He's a bit volatile. I kind of get both sides here, because I like Dan Hardy. I think he's a brilliant commentator. He's one of the best analysts in the game. But at the same time, you've got to be professional all the time. So although Herb Dean's call was late, you don't start screaming and shouting at him and have an argument on live TV. Although that woman who he was arguing with may have missed an opportunity or whatever, you don't start shouting at people in the middle of a packed room, or there was quite a few people in the room, from what I understand. So I get it. It's unfortunate. Dan, a great analyst, has got to go, but he'll land on his feet. He'll go somewhere else, and I'm sure we'll see him on Bellator in the near future. And he wants to fight anyway, so hopefully we can see him fight somewhere. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's sad. I wish he'd kind of give him another chance, but it's that was two things now that have been made public knowledge that he's done. There might be more going on backstage, and if you start to cut the ties.
Yeah, who knows? That's all the news I have. Is there anything else before we wrap this one up?
No, that's it. Looking forward to. This isn't the strongest card we've got coming up, but still looking forward to that main event. Really strong main event, and we've just spoke about a really fun card that took place the past weekend, and then after that we've got 260. So look forward to bringing that one down next week.
Yeah, it should be good. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll speak to you after the fights.
Thanks, guys.